Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, we are discussing Mr. Pelosi, the Speaker of the U.S. House, the husband of Nancy Pelosi. He was attacked with a hammer early this morning. So we're going to be diving into this and we're going to be finding out, what do we know? Do we know who the assailant is? Do we know if he's been charged yet? Let's go ahead and dive into all of that, why don't we? We're diving into the story of the House Speaker husband who was attacked this morning. He was attacked with a hammer. Now, let me share this before we dive into it. I don't care about politics. I don't like politics. I don't really follow politics. But an incident like this should never happen. I don't care what your beliefs, right, left, central, up, down. I just don't care. These type of things should not happen. How could someone be so angry that they would be willing to kill, to hurt a person who's just, in their mind, doing their job? Now, I don't really even trust the government. That's probably why I don't follow politics. But I tell you this should never, ever happen. So, Mr. Pelosi, the husband to Nancy Pelosi, he was attacked early this morning. The assailant who violently assaulted Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer early Friday morning was looking for the speaker herself when he broke into their San Francisco home, shouting, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" Speaker Pelosi was in Washington, D.C. when Paul Pelosi, 82 years old, was brutally attacked. He was left with significant injuries in the assault, but is expected to have a full recovery. The suspect entered the Pelosi residence through a sliding glass door at the back of the house. Aerial footage showed broken panes of smashed glass at a door to their home. His target was the U.S. Speaker, Nancy Pelosi. Instead, the intruder found her husband of 59 years. He confronted Paul Pelosi, yelling, "Where is Nancy? Where is Nancy?" And the intruder, he is now in custody. Paul Pelosi is in the hospital where he is expected to make a full recovery. This is according to the Speaker's office, who shared this. He did suffer from blunt force trauma injuries to his head and body in the attack, the Associated Press reported. He is being treated at Zuckerberg's San Francisco General Hospital for bruising, severe swelling, and other injuries. Now, the assault occurred at 2:27 a.m. at the Pelosi's $6 million property in the exclusive San Francisco neighborhood of Pacific Heights. As Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she has a full-time security detail with her, but her husband would not have federal protection. She was a target for the Make America Great Again supporters during the January 6th insurrection, and they broke into her office looking for her. Mr. President Joe Biden, he spoke with Speaker Pelosi Friday morning. He condemned the violence. The president is praying for Paul Pelosi and for Speaker Pelosi's whole family, said White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre in a statement. This morning, he called Speaker Pelosi to express his support after this horrible attack. He is also very glad that a full recovery is expected. The president continues to condemn all violence and asks that the family's desire for privacy be respected. And the home of the millionaire couple has been the frequent target of protests. In January 2021, a pig's head was left outside her garage door with red paint in a demonstration saying $2,000 COVID relief checks were not enough. Now, Paul Pelosi, he did make headlines earlier this year when he was arrested for DUI in Napa Valley when he crashed his Porsche near one of the properties in their portfolio. Political attacks have been on the rise this year. Republican Senator Marco Rubio of Florida claimed that one of his supporters was attacked while out canvassing that week. And Republican Rep. Adam Kinzinger said he's received death threats against himself and his family after serving on the committee investigating the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. And early this morning, an assailant broke into the Pelosi residence in San Francisco and violently attacked Mr. Pelosi. Pelosi spokesman Drew Hamill said in a statement Friday, the assailant is in custody and the motivation for the attack is under investigation. Mr. Pelosi was taken to the hospital where he is receiving excellent medical care and is expected to make a full recovery, Hamill added. The family did request privacy. The speaker and her family are grateful to the first responders and medical professionals involved and request privacy at the time, Hamill said. Well wishes poured in for the 82-year-old, and what happened to Paul Pelosi was a dastardly act, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said in a statement. I spoke with Speaker Pelosi earlier this morning and conveyed my deepest concern and heartfelt wishes to her husband and their family, and I wish him a speedy recovery. Now, Senate Leader Mitch McConnell said he was horrified at the news, horrified and disgusted by the reports that Paul Pelosi was assaulted in his and Speaker Pelosi's home last night, really this morning. Grateful to hear that Paul is on track to make a full recovery and that law enforcement, including our stellar Capitol Police, are on the case, McConnell would add. Upscale Pacific Heights in San Francisco, where the Pelosi's own their home, this has not been immune from a crime wave hitting San Francisco. In recent months, a nearby neighbor revealed how he was robbed at gunpoint outside his own mansion in the area. And major crimes in San Francisco are up 7.4% so far this year from the same period in 2021, with assault up 11.1% and robbery up 5.2%. Amid scenes of misery on city streets where drug use is brazen and homelessness is rampant, a recent poll found that a majority of San Franciscans believe their city is going downhill, and a third plan to leave the city within 3 years. Now, Pelosi, she is second in line for the presidency and one of the highest ranking women in government. She is also one of the most well-known members of the House and is a frequent Republican target in election years when they attempt to tie Democratic candidates to the liberal speaker from San Francisco. It's not the first time the Pelosi home has been targeted, as I mentioned. In January last year, the Pelosi's Pacific Heights home was vandalized overnight with a pig's head surrounded in a pool of red paint, as well as a spray-painted message appearing to allude to the failed $2,000 stimulus checks. After the January 6th insurrection that saw Donald Trump's MAGA supporters swarm the Capitol to try and stop the certification of the presidential election, lawmakers were given greater leniency to spend their campaign funds on security, and threats of physical violence has increased. In the 5 years after Trump was elected president in 2016, the number of recorded threats against members of Congress increased more than tenfold to 9,625 in 2021. Now, this is according to figures from the Capitol Police. In the first quarter of 2022, the latest period for which figures were available, the force opened 1,820 cases. This is what the New York Times would find. And Republican Senator Susan Collins had her home vandalized with a storm window broken this election year. And she says, I wouldn't be surprised if a senator or House member were killed. And she would share this with the New York Times earlier this month. What started with abusive phone calls is now translating into active threats of violence and real violence, she would share. Now, Republican Rep. Liz Cheney, a frequent target of Trump's wrath, has spent $70,000 on security measures, and Democratic Rep. Cori Bush, a prominent black liberal, has spent the most among House lawmakers, close to $400,000. She has said she's received multiple death threats. Often at Speaker Pelosi's side at political events, Paul Pelosi is a businessman based in the Bay Area. He and Speaker Pelosi married in 1963 and have 5 children together. The couple owns a 4-bedroom San Francisco home that sits in the middle of her congressional district and was purchased in 2007 for $2.2 million, but is thought to be worth at least $6 million now. Pelosi is one of the wealthiest members of Congress with a fortune of $29.3 million, according to an analysis of her financial disclosure forms by Roll Cam. She and Paul Pelosi own multiple properties spread over several states. She spends most of her time in Washington, D.C., where she has a $2.6 million condo in the upscale Georgetown district. The couple also have a 65-acre wine estate in St. Helena, 65 miles north of San Francisco, that boasts a Palladian-style house and a Z-shaped pool. And according to Roll Call, the property is now worth between $5 million and $2 million and provides the Pelosi's with an annual windfall of up to $15,000 from grape sales. Pelosi also owns a second Napa Valley property worth $1 million, which is rented out for up to $50,000 a year, according to her financial disclosure forms. Now, a second rental property worth up to $5 million is located in the upscale Sugar Bowl ski resort near Northern California. A statement from Capitol Police said it was assisting the FBI and San Francisco police in a joint investigation into the break-in. The speaker, she was in Washington, D.C. with her protective detail at the time of the overnight break-in. During the California break-in, the speaker's husband was assaulted, but he is now recovering, and the San Francisco Police Department has the suspect in custody. Again, they don't know the motivation of this. But Police Chief Bill Scott begins the press conference today by identifying the suspect as 42-year-old David DePepe. And the responding officers found the 2 men. You can see a picture of David here. The responding officers found the 2 men both holding onto the hammer, which the assailant then violently assaulted Mr. Pelosi with it. He was immediately apprehended and disarmed. And the motive for this attack is still being determined. DePepe will be charged with attempted homicide, assault with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, burglary, and several additional felonies. The man who assaulted Paul Pelosi, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, tried to tie him up. And he said, until Nancy got home. And this is according to 2 sources familiar with the situation. When the police arrived at the residence, the attacker said he was waiting for Nancy. And David DePepe is a former Castro nudist protester, and a hemp jewelry maker who has children with a well-known pro-nudity activist. And this is according to reports. And Joe Eskenazi of Mission Local tweeted, "My sources also named the suspect in this morning's hammer attack on Paul Pelosi as David DePepe, born 1980 of Berkeley. He would appear to be a former Castro nudist protester. Things appear set to be bizarre for a while. I agree with that comment. A 2013 article in the San Francisco Chronicle mentions DePepe, although his name is spelled wrong, it describes him as a hemp jewelry maker. That article reported that DePepe was the best man at the naked wedding of Gypsy Taub. A 2008 article in the Oakland Tribune, assessed via newspapers.com, reported that David DePepe and Gypsy Taub have 3 children together. Instead of cooking Thanksgiving dinner in their Berkeley home, they chose to join 350 others at the 2-Star Market for a community meal, the article shares. We like to meet our neighbors, Taub, a pro-nudity activist, told the newspaper. Taub's Facebook page says she is from Moscow, Russia, and is the homeless youth director of Jerry Garcia Family Healing Clinic. There is no indication that Taub has any connection to the Paul Pelosi attack. The inclusion is meant to flesh out the bio of DePepe. Taub has told the media she believes 9/11 was an inside job, according to the San Francisco Chronicle. In 2013, in an article on IndieBay.org, Taub mentioned DePepe as a photographer at a nudity ban protest in San Francisco's Castro neighborhood. David DePepe wrote a blog called Welcome to Big Brother's Censorship Hell. And David DePepe, he is the one that is named as the person who entered Pelosi's home through a sliding glass door looking for Nancy Pelosi, reports would share. And according to ABC's Terry Moran, the suspect allegedly entered the house through a sliding glass door, carrying a hammer, and was apparently looking for the House Speaker herself. Paul Pelosi's injuries were described as significant by Moran. Now, San Francisco police tweeted on October 28, 2022, at 2:27 a.m., San Francisco Police Department responded to the 2600 block of Broadway for a home break-in. During the incident, an 82-year-old male was attacked. The suspect was taken into custody. The victim was transported to a local hospital. And that is where it would later be addressed when Chief got on and he had his press conference. And so Paul Pelosi, he's a businessman with a net worth exceeding $120 million. And so he has a very high net worth himself. And according to Celebrity Net Worth, Paul Pelosi has a net worth of $120 million. And the site says that he is best known for owning and operating the San Francisco-based real estate and venture capital investment and consulting firm Financial Leasing Services. He once owned a United Football League team. He sits on many corporate and philanthropic boards and owns large stakes in companies like Facebook, Apple, Comcast, and Disney. Celebrity Net Worth would report this. And, again, I don't follow politics, but my gosh, these people have a freaking lot of money. They have a crap load of money. They've done something right their whole life or something wrong their whole life. I don't really know how these people become so wealthy, so I'm not going to play the card like I do. But police say that they found, and this is where I'm a little lost, and again, this is still a developing story, but the police say that when they got there, Chief would say that when they got there, when the police authorities arrived, that both of them had their hands on this hammer. So it looks like maybe that Pelosi was probably trying to protect himself, and then the perp got the better of him and started beating him with that hammer. And then what we don't know is, how did the police get wind of this? Because you live in this multi-million-dollar home. I would think there's security cameras everywhere. How did this guy get in? Now, there's a good chance that Nancy or someone at the White House was monitoring what's going on at the home in San Francisco, right? And they were probably monitoring and noticed that something weird was going on, especially in the early hours. So 2:27, I'm guessing Paul was asleep, and this guy comes in yelling, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" And again, I don't follow politics. I'm not going to play that role. What I do know is that I just want these people to have the U.S. in their heart, in their mind, in their focus whenever they're doing any of this stuff, right? And so I want to know what exactly has led to this. Of course, you got your conspiracy theorists already throwing a bunch of crap out there. You already got the politics haters or politics lovers. I don't even know if they just hate one side and love the other. I don't understand all this stuff. There's always someone blaming a party, right? Again, I don't understand politics. What I do understand is true crime. Here we are again. And I know I just read this. I already forgot who said it. Susan Collins. She said, it's just a matter of time before someone loses their life. That is a big fear. Could he have lost his life, if there was more beating on him with this hammer? Because let's be real, it's a hammer. Holy moly's, it's a hammer, right? And so that could do some serious damage. Serious damage. The thought of it gives me chills. So I'm praying for a speedy recovery for Mr. Pelosi, 82 years old. It doesn't matter what age you are. Anyone who is hit with a hammer is going to have a trouble overcoming this. My friends, this is why I do these stories, to keep you updated on what could go wrong in this crazy world we live in. Because that can hopefully help you have a little better alertness, awareness, a little consciousness of what could go wrong. Now, again, it could still have something where you're in your home, you think you're safe, just like Mr. Pelosi. I don't know why you would ever think you're safe if you're anything part of politics, living in a multi-million-dollar home. I would think that you should have security both for your husband and yourself. So, again, developing story. So, my friends, if this is the type of content you like to follow, please hit on that subscribe button. And if you got some value from this video, hit that like button, because that tells YouTube there's value. Show it to more people. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to serving you again. Peace. Have a great day, my friends.